there's lots of future gazing going on here today at the studio, but outside, lots of people are talking about whether some jobs will disappear completely because of robotics and AI, technology to replace human labour completely. What other skills does the workforce need to take on in order to migrate to this new reality where some jobs will disappear, others may be created?
I think one of them is actually people skills. You know, if there's going to be less, repetitive manual labour, which I would imagine where will be the first place the automatic systems will take over. You know, the bits that's going to be more valuable is what people can do, and that's dealing with people and being flexible and learning and not expecting to start a job and do the same job, to Pol's point, for your whole career. You've got to be ready to learn and progress and change, and the people who do that will succeed.
We were talking about them earlier as in the immediate term, so I'm talking 2, 3, 4 years time, that really we're talking about cobots, that is bots that collaborate with you rather than take over your job. And that's probably the reality for many businesses and most workers, right? So, and that's about, the discussion today has been about adapting to that change and helping people consume that as the next step rather than a radical disappearance of everyone's jobs per se, but actually allowing people to leverage automation to work smarter and be more efficient, but not disappearing altogether. And the reality over the next few years, I think, is that we won't see most businesses eradicating people, but leveraging the benefit where it makes sense to do so and it's economical to do so. And there's, in this society, we've got a reliance on humans to make decisions and ethical decisions, and I think the sort of backstop is we're probably uncomfortable still allowing robots to make full decisions end to end, and therefore there's still a need for humans somewhere. We're not quite at Skynet yet.
That's certainly one of the discussions about driverless cars, and some of the tests are, will the driverless car run over the person with the pram to avoid a dog that runs out into the road or something like that. But people do think, Skynet, it is going to be this dystopian future.
Yeah, for me, my vision is that it will make a smarter workplace, and it links with what we discussed before. So if you have a robot or something helping you on your day-to-day activities, it will make the workplace smarter and let you focus on the things that really are valuable for your customers or the relationships with your employees. No? And we're seeing a lot of how you can augment people through technology, because if you look at we do many things every day that we could stop doing if there's technology doing that on our behalf. And I think that for me is more how we can amplify humans with technology and let them focus on the right things. And with the example of the driverless cars, I mean, if you look at one of the main reasons that Google started investing in driverless cars is because they know that if you are not driving the car in that half an hour commuting, you are going to be consuming Google services. So it's the example of if you have a technology doing something on your behalf, you'll be spending time on things that really matter to you.
But actually, to play devil's advocate, it's a great opportunity to slim your workforce down, isn't it? I mean, we've seen in banking, for example, fewer branches on high streets. Are those staff replaced elsewhere, or is it a new model for an industry when robots or cobots start kind of becoming a reality?
I think it's a combination. So on one side is you are using technology to let the people you have today invest more time in managing customer relationships, because we still have a lot of people coming to branches to do transactional things, and you are using people to support those transactions that could be spending time in terms of advising customers or helping them. And at the same time is using these robots to help your existing employees to provide a better service to your customers.
It is a challenge, though. I mean, you have to be real. You have to be real about it. And if you look back over the last 30, 40, 50 years of industrial output, etc., you've added robots. So if you look to the car plant, robots will be handling all the paint shop activity. They'll be doing the stamping activity. They'll be doing the transfer activity. What's that yielded? There are fewer people working in those factories, but they are then working somewhere else, or they're retired, whatever it's going to be. But
or perhaps
equally,
there's a new model.
well, it's a new model, but the upside,
the
paint shop, the paint shop is a pretty dangerous place to be. The factory environment is pretty difficult, kind of thing. So you've removed, serious harm in a number of areas as well. So that you can't get away from the fact, I guess, that people want to have work. So you've got to find that within the total economy somewhere, and within the company capabilities as far as you can. And as we say, reskilling, retraining. If we think about, I think you were kind of hinting at earlier, the cobot piece is good, because you're going to need people to train the robots and to manage the algorithms if you go that far, etc. And people who understand the work, they understand the consequences of it, they'll take it as far as they can. In 12 months we've done about 9,000 transactions from a standing start last summer to today, where we're putting out IT services in an automated way, passwords, software deployment, compliance checks, health checks, etc. What that's done is taken away so much noise and stress from the frontline service team that now they're thinking about, okay, this is what we do next, this is what we can do here. And so it completely transforms their day job, So it's had
a real positive effect.
It has had a positive effect.
So if you take away the drudgery, it allows people to be more creative.
Yeah.
And the end result's better, hopefully.
Could it lead to a future in which instead of people retiring later and later, actually we retire earlier and have more leisure because the work's being done by someone else, and then the economy has to cope with. I mean, but we're in an election campaign at the moment, and there's been talk about a 4-day week, for example, and that's been scoffed at actually in a lot of places. But is there a possible future that we might be heading towards where it is realistic that a lot of people don't work full time and they have more leisure, and that is supported economically at a state level?
I could see a future, and that's something I actually would be quite good. You don't have a retirement date if you don't want it, but you go from working 5 days a week to 4 days a week to 3 days a week to doing occasional projects. It depends if you're on your skill set and your appetite for it. But I can certainly, in my case, I could see myself petering out rather than retiring.
You don't look like you're petering out.
I may have to think of a better name. Yes.
Do you see yourself petering out? I mean, you've done a lot of jobs for Tata. Will you peter out?
No, I hope not. I hope not. And certainly, every time I talk about early retirement, I get a strange look from my wife who says,
"That ain't happening."
That's not happening. No. So no, I wouldn't want to do that personally. But I can see what people. I have colleagues who do. I have colleagues who are currently retiring from the organisation in the mid-50s, and they're saying, yeah, okay, this is 30, 35 years, I'm going to do something else. This is what I now want to do. So they have that position. I think, but it also comes back down to your economic capabilities. Some of us, all of us have had families, have taken them to Disneyland and in the parks in Florida or something. If you look at who's driving the trucks to get you back to the car park in the evening, it's generally not students. It's people of 60, 70, 80 years old actually, who are working. And there you've got no economic kind of baseline. So it's a necessity. And the Industrial Revolution, you had people working 7 days, then we moved back to 6 days, then you move back to 5 days, etc. So is it just a progression? Probably. But then you're on to scarcity of supply. We can't have a 4-day NHS if we have the same number of doctors with the same number or an increasing number of emergency cases or operations to do. So demand and supply, unfortunately, I did economics, it all comes back to, it will come back to the economics of the situation.